Hey there, greetings to my people from here at the Great Start Studio, where all of my drumming dreams are coming true. It's true. So this is where I'm shooting a video of the entire instructional series here in the studio, the 13 volumes of the London's Great Start Drum Set series. It's printed and the Kindle versions are available on Amazon as well as on my website, which is London's Great Start Drum Set. You can go there and check it all out. All my new videos from the studio will be available on that website for online lessons. Today I'm going to be talking about revealing some of my original drum heroes, what I call the Artistic Influence series. Drummers that I can actually see some of their playing in mine, that they've influenced me to that level. Drummers who truly changed my playing for the better, all the way through. There's some influence there in my actual hands and feet when I play. If in the studio, if I made posters of all the tribute, as a tribute to all the people, it'd just be every inch of every wall would be covered. It's just that these are the ones that have really, really influenced me in some foundational sort of way. So I made these posters as a tribute and a reminder of these great players. They're in my office. I'll be showing you. There's just too many to cover them all, but a handful that have really actually, I can see in my playing. There's so many great players who have inspired me in my drumming, but these are the select ones that have some way become a part of my style, my diversity, my teaching, my writing, and helped me develop my unique voice, which is a hard thing to find. You have to really listen inside. So anyway, enjoy the whole Artistic Influence series, and I'll be running them down, and I'll see you at the end. So next up in my video series of inspirational posters I have in my office is Thomas Lang. Thomas Lang is, he's got an unusual place for me because it took me forever to warm up to Thomas's thing, really. And I've never been able to quite put my finger on why this is. He's excessively proficient in a lot of different areas. He's playing, which I'll talk about here, things that are really attractive to me. But I don't know, and I love clinics, and he's, voted #1 clinician, multiple years. I just can't quite figure out why, except maybe that it's so clinical, like literally, that it's not very band oriented. His thing, it's not really tied to, he has this prog pop project that he has, that he's made. And this is, strangely enough, where he's really won me over. He's really won me over. There's just a lot of things about his playing that really should have won me over earlier. And I can't, like I said, I can't quite figure out why I kind of had him on the margins for quite a long, long time. It's just slowly won me over. And I think what's won me over is that he's evolved into a multi-sided player where he's voicing on both sides. He's got four-way coordination with his feet. He's playing double bass. He's not really a stylist, right? So I was thinking, terms of the people who have really processed through the style wheels, he's never appealed to me in that way at all. Very clinician-like in his efforts. And he's got a trapdoor mind. He understands what he's doing. He remembers a ton of things. He can reel them off, just, like recitation. And that is really attractive, to be able to just have all this stuff at hand to lay down. It's like his more recent work with, on Drumeo, and it's just idea after idea after idea, just crammed together, as condensed and as impactful as he can make it. And that's really attractive as an educator, on the educator side of it. So from a kind of a visceral feeling, band-oriented sort of just straight up music kind of feel, that's why it took me a long time to appreciate his work. And But when I look at some of these tracks where he is voicing on both sides and he's playing very melodically is obviously very clear in his coordination, right? So about what limb is where and what its role is and how it's moving and compared to another limb. So those things are really attractive on the freedom front, right? That we're all seeking out this sort of freedom that we're trying to find so we can express what it is we want to express. That's what I'm trying to do, right, in my way, and that's what I hope you're trying to do in your way. Thomas is doing it in his way. And I'm just saying that the way it was kind of packaged was slow for me to warm up to. But some of these tracks have at the center the idea that I love. Melodic, multi-layered mechanics of single and double bass, multi-foot action, multi-sides. He predominantly plays, really match grip. And of course, he espouses just about every facet of every kind of thing in drumming. And it allows him to access, right, both sides of the kit. He's gone through many different versions of his kit setups. That's always attractive in a way because you go, well, this guy's always seeking kind of a new thing. He's passed through many iterations of electronic kits, and I love electronics. I was there when the original Syndrum came out, and I remember showing my dad this ad for Syndrum, and he's like, "What's that?" And I go, "I don't know. It's like some kind of electronic drum." He goes, "Let's get it." That's how Dad was with new things. And so he always bragged he was like the second person in town to ever have a TV or something. And so I remember we ran out when VCRs came out, and you paid like $900 for this giant VCR machine. And he just had a thing that he just like kind of like being on the new part of the edge of whatever was coming out. So we ended up buying this Syndrum, and it was just a little electronic drum that just went pew, 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 and you could lengthen the length of pew, pew, but that was it. And I love this little thing. But I just came in, 1980, the machines really came in, and I just love electronic music. Like I've said, I've got a real weakness for like electronic pop and stuff, so I bought all this electronic gear, but you got to be really inside of sample rates and truncation and really love, I guess, electricity. And I kind of made a decision after about a decade of fooling with this that it really is a different instrument. And so they're really keyboards you hit with a stick. And once you accept that and accept that the best thing they do is sound not like a drum set, it's all the other really cool stuff they do, then I was able to put it in, set a role for it and understand its role in my life. But Thomas kind of keeps going back and forth between, who knows what the requirements of endorsements are, and just the monetary side of it. I personally think of it as a different instrument, and so, but he's had many configurations even of that. The recent configurations of his acoustic kits are what I'm really interested in, and this goes all the way back to Simon Phillips and his octobans on the left, where he's playing open-handed and he's playing both sides of the kit. Well, this is Thomas. So I say, you would think that I would have grabbed onto this earlier, but he's kind of really won me over with these kit reiterations, and then really the melodic nature of the compositions. They're organized. I love that. They sound great. I think they sound better than he even gets real credit for. He gets a lot of credit for just pure technique prowess, right? But I think it's these compositional ideas that really won me over. And so when he has his octobans on the left down low in a row, and he's got the gong drum, and sometimes two, one on the right or one on the left, and those are the sounds, those super high and super low sounds. I love all the melodies that you can make in that sort of configuration. On my mirror kit, I have 4 toms on each side. They're doubled, so it really is like a 6-piece kit that's doubled. But in 4 toms, between a 10 and a 16, you can get a lot of variation. And it's even more pronounced when you have the octobans and the gong drum. And I love that spread of frequency. Thomas is doing that. He's doing that quite a lot. And that's why I say, really won me over in how I go, these are the kind of parts that I want to write. These are the kind of things that have always been attractive to me when I really break it down. I remember when I was going through in my obsession of all the books and all the styles and all the charting and all the timing of everything. And so you go through like a decade of that, and then you finally kind of wake up at one point and you go, hey, what happened to me, right? I'm doing every kind of show for everybody else. I'm studying every kind of book from everybody else. What is it that I am aiming at, right? And so then you start thinking of the target, the smallest kind of target. So Stephen Covey had a thing where you just basically take your life and you go, okay, let's say you're 80 because you've spent all of your industry, and you're basically, if you're lucky to be 80, you're kind of done, right, for what you're going to really propel, especially by drums standards. And he goes, and then you just keep folding. You set your goals of what those clear goals are for what you want when you're 80, and then you keep folding it back, and you fold it back. You fold it back to what he calls the next salient date, which could be New Year's, could be your birthday, could be the top of the month, right? And then you go, okay, now I'm to today. And so how do I create goals that lead me to when I'm 80 and I'm going to be happy when I've spent all my industry and it's over? And so I went through this thing. I went, okay, so he goes, you got to write down all your goals. I wrote down all my goals in drumming, and I just put them on this page, and I just set it in front of the drum set whenever I was practicing. I thought of another one. I want this. I want this odd meter thing. I want this. I want this four-way thing. I want this. I want the, right? I want the micro and the macro kind of learning. And then you sit there and stare at this list for a long time. And Stephen Covey's, he's a motivational speaker. He was, and he did 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that book changed my life. So I was going through and I was like, okay, he said, well, take your top three, and then just get rid of the rest because you won't have time in your life. I was like, oh no, how do I get to my top 3? And then I started thinking kind of differently. Started thinking about my top 3 is really, well, I love double bass, and I love tom grooves. This isn't something I really kind of wrote down. I was like, tom grooves. When it really comes down to it, tom melody grooves are at the highest of my attention when I hear them. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Hi-hat openings. I have always loved hi-hat openings from the very first time I ever heard a hi-hat opening. But I didn't really consider it in this list because, well, there wasn't really like just books on hi-hat openings or, real studies of it. You just kind of take it for granted. But actual hi-hat openings, and maybe this is my love of disco from way back, is it creates a problem where you have 2 limbs playing a sound. You have that, and it's now you know that just by deduction that any other thing that's happening on the drum set is your other 2 limbs. I love this kind of thing. And so that brought me to those 3, and then I kind of snuck another one in there, which is really over-the-bar phrasings. I love over-the-bar phrasings. But once I kind of got a target, right, then I know what I'm aiming at, and then I try to solidify the material I'm working on more towards that, okay? So, and maybe that's just because I was really saturating the stylistic wheel so much at that point. I just was trying to think a little more foundational. So I've been aiming at that ever since, and it was in 2017 that all of a sudden I had that epiphany that changed my thinking about how I was approaching the mirror kit, and I'll have a bunch of videos on that to explain that. This thing that Thomas is doing really relates to my end goals of those things. I personally would love it if he just did it all the time, like without exception. So that is a huge thing. Of course, his whole package of Thomas and being all over the world and playing his thing, that he's chose this thing to chase. Now maybe he's chasing every tale of every kind of thing, of every kind of idea of, right? I don't know. I don't know what Thomas's motivations are. I just know that the result is that he's gotten to something that is really appealing to me. And I think about that a lot when I'm practicing. I see his poster from the drums when I'm practicing, and it just reminds me to double down on that very singular target, that I'm trying to get to now that I found it. So thank you, Thomas, for pursuing drumming and being so committed to the drum industry. And this thing has really reinforced these ideas in my life to chase.